John, welcome to our podcast, Focus on Cures. We're glad to have you here today.
Good to be here.
I've done a little bit of research on you, and I know you're a Harvard professor and that you've written a lot of books and you're a prolific author. And I thought I'd just start with the first question. What's the general theme of all these books and things that you're doing in your life?
Looking at how the brain affects our mood, our focus, our cognition, our ability to be well. And so all of my years in psychiatry have been what's called a neuropsychiatrist, looking at how the brain affects psychiatric issues. I've written 12 books around those issues.
The subject.
Yeah.
Okay, great. But what's the main course you're teaching at Harvard?
Well, no, I'm teaching a lot of different things. I'm teaching about attention deficit disorder and treatment using medicine.
Oh.
Okay, but my main teaching is about how alternative treatments are useful for things like depression, ADHD, anxiety, stress, addictions, and a center point of that with my book Spark, and 11 years ago now, is about using exercise to treat these conditions. And we have tons and tons of evidence on just that score. Forget about diet, sleep, being present, and connection. I mean, connecting to others, they're very important, but exercise is sort of one of the things that we have to recoup in our society today.
So what is the state of neuropsychiatry today?
Neuropsychiatry, well, that's what most people going into psychiatry today are into, into trying to understand how the brain affects various psychiatric issues and then treating it.
And so you're basically saying that exercise in the brain is your expertise in the arena that you're in. And could you talk a little bit more about how it captured your interest and how much you've learned regarding the brain fitness connection?
Oh, it's huge. How it captured my interest is I began to talk about attention deficit disorder early, like in 1981, and seeing it where other people were, we didn't see it. Behind depression, behind anxiety, behind addictions. Especially.
So you're saying, as in we're finding with cancer and all these other complex diseases, it's actually not one thing, it's many, and there are things lurking behind, and ADHD is something that's lurking behind mental illness?
Yes, a lot of them. Not all of them. Not all of them, but a lot of them. So, and I was talking about it at a cocktail party, and this Harvard professor, MIT professor, came up to me and he says, "Can I come and see you?" And so he did, and his story was he was a marathoner, one of the early marathoners in Boston.
Oh.
And he had hurt his knee, so he had to stop running for the first time in his life. So his production went way down.
Right.
He says, "I have all the symptoms of ADHD, and I've never had them before, because I can't run my 6-7 miles a day."
Wow.
So I stayed with him. I treated him with medicine at the time, and eventually he got his knee back and got running again, so he was able to get
So can medicine replace exercise?
No, nothing can replace exercise in my mind.
Right, I agree. And one of the things that you were writing about as humans need to be more like a caveman, and they need to rewild themselves, and can you give us some insights regarding rewilding?
Rewilding is a really good term. Wilding, is to get them back into their more natural state. Yeah, and the same way with us. We are hunter-gatherers in terms of our genes. We're not living that way. And so the idea is to pay attention to what our genes are basically should be telling us. And, moving, eating right, sleeping right, having connection, being in the present, being in the moment. All those things come from our hunter-gatherer forebears. Yeah, it's in our genes, man. And and we're not doing it. So, there are ways to sort of recapture that, recover that. It's basically the wellness portal. There's so many aspects of wellness, but major ones are exercise, diet, sleep, being connected to others, and being present in the moment.
And it's almost the exact opposite of what the status quo is in society today, which is sitting in front of a tube with things in your ear and glued to a small little tube in front of you and just eating the quickest, silliest thing you can
called
find.
a pizza man. Probably when the computer really got good, you know, and the internet.
We started a tipping point.
Yeah.
So what's going to happen if we don't start?
I don't. Who knows? You know, the futurists predicting that we'll maybe recover with AI to help us get back on track, so we can do things that are more consistent with the way we were supposed to do. But I doubt that.
We've reached a tipping point where we're showing all sorts of spiritual, mental, physiological, physical, emotional problems. And how do we get out of this grind? And you're hoping that potentially monitoring through AI behavior and diet and exercise can get us there?
Yeah, that's the hope. I mean, I worked with an AI group a while ago now who were trying to create the best coach for us, you know, your own personal coach.
Yeah.
You know, that you would sort of put together.
Well, a good coach can really help.
Yeah, oh no, exactly. Yeah. But this was something that you could, you know, through artificial intelligence, you could do, and there was enough input, and they knew what was going to make you at your highest state of well-being. Bingo. And so this was, you know, the whole.
So the next killer app could be a coach that's going to get you back to exercising, eating right, and getting out of the house, getting off the couch.
Right, being in a group setting with the kind of group.
Meeting other humans?
Oh, absolutely.
Interacting with other humans?
Yes. It's the most potent treatment. That and exercise is really the biggest thing we got.
I guess what's strange to me, and it must be strange to you, is all this is so obvious.
Well, absolutely. People read Spark and they say, well, I knew that. They didn't know that. You know, they didn't know there was such evidence for that. You know, the benefits of exercise. They didn't. Even this morning, talking to the BBC, the guy said, "Oh, this is amazing." He said, "I didn't know this. I didn't know we knew this." Because it's simplistic, right?
Right.
And eating right is simplistic. It's what your grandmother taught you.
Right.
You know, basically,
exactly.
It's exactly the way.
But the gathering of people right now is virtual on networks.
Yes.
And you're not out of the house. You're sitting in front of a.
You're your own cocoon, and then when we make that cocoon, and it's a problem. It leads to loneliness. It leads to that retreat in the cocoon. You know.
Wow. Fascinating.
Yeah, and just for instance, the UK about 2.5 years ago came up with the Ministry of Loneliness. Think about that. At a ministerial level of loneliness, to really attack it, to really change it.
And it's only going to get worse as people age, and the majority of people on the planet are now aging.
Absolutely, and that's where Asia's at. You know, looking at South Korea and Japan and a lot of China is aging, and not having kids and all that.
Have you developed a regime or a program, or are you coaching an AI team how to make the...
Well, that's what they brought me in for, to add the exercise piece and some of the other, the neuro piece to it, but you know, no funding. Alibaba was supposed to pick them up, but never did. You know.
So how are you going to impact? I mean, you've got the vision, you understand the message. So now, what's the solution?
Well, the lever I'm pushing on most is exercise. You know, because I think that's personal and the most potent way of shifting the culture. And I really believe that. I really believe that's where we're going to have the best and most impact. And for instance, with Alzheimer's disease, I've done a lot in that area. If you look at all the experts, when they talk about the things that you need to do to prevent Alzheimer's disease, number 1 is exercise. Number 2 is remaining connected and getting connected. Never retire.
So I'm in the life science space, and I'm dealing with the early stage life science space across the drugs, devices, diagnostics, and digital health. And a big thing that I hear all the time is prevention, prevention, prevention.
So
it's one of the keys to avoiding disease and keeping yourself healthy. And it seems really simple, but we just don't want to
We don't want to do it.
We haven't figured out how to make it acceptable and easy to do yet. So
Right.
how do we get there?
Well, we have to sort of acknowledge that and then begin to sort of say, okay, this is a way we need to change the way the world is going. And one of the big areas I'm working with is in the schools, is to get them to recover exercise. I mean, we used to with the Kennedy presidency.
Right, right.
You know, I mean, the presidential medals and all that.
Yeah,
You know, and it really had an impact.
yeah. And now they've done, now
It's
they're
forget it.
closing recess.
Yeah.
There's no physical ed classes that you used to go to.
Right.
And they're basically cutting down the sports programs in the schools.
Yeah, no, I mean, there was a first, and also probably because of the worry about concussion, I mean, the first time ever this year, there's less kids joining sports teams ever
Right.
than we ever had. So we're seeing that drift away from that because everybody's wanting to spend more time studying or doing whatever it is.
So your advice to the audience is get
Get
off
mo-
the chair.
Get out of the chair, get moving, stay moving, and do it in outside because we need nature too.
Yes.
Outside with somebody, something you'll come back to, something you'll have fun with.
That's great advice. So the word to the audience is prevention, prevention, prevention.
Absolutely.
Get out of the house, exercise, get in nature, and do it with people that you like.
Right, and have fun with it.
And fabulous. Thank you very much for the interview.
Okay, thank you for interviewing me.
Great.